Well, hello again. I didn't expect to do it today, but evidently this whole Australia and AUKUS thing created so much excitement and so much misunderstanding that I really have to improvise right now to explain some things which many people obviously need. And allow me to just read something from my second book, which I wrote, and it's a real revolution in military affairs. And let me read it verbatim. I'm reading from it. This was written in, basically more than 3 years ago. And just listen attentively, and obviously people who have this book, or, they will find it there. Here it is. Okay. The late admiral of the fleet of the Soviet Union, Sergei Gorshkov, at the peak of the Soviet naval development in late 1970s to mid-1980s, continued to stress his seemingly simple idea, first officially articulated in his 1976 treatise, The Sea Power of the State, that the modern Soviet Navy must be balanced. Gorshkov's idea of a balanced fleet was that of a navalist, who envisioned a modern-day navy capable of conducting global operations ranging from amphibious landings to global anti-submarine warfare operations to nuclear deterrent. Yet, throughout Gorshkov's long tenure as commander-in-chief of the Soviet Navy, one platform above everything else remained dominant in his thinking: the submarine. Unsurprisingly, in 1968, Time magazine cover featured the image of Admiral Gorshkov superimposed on a submarine at the periscope depth. In addition to the Soviet Navy's impressive development of its surface fleet, at that time, the USSR developed submarines at a breakneck speed and eventually equaled or surpassed the US Navy submarine forces, not only in their quantity but in quality too. Even the US Navy grudgingly admitted in 1988 that the Project 971, which is in NATO known as Akula-class nuclear submarine, was the best in the world. Gorshkov knew, as do contemporary Russian naval commanders, that no balanced fleet is possible without a powerful submarine component. Even in the worst times of the post-Soviet collapse, with the Russian Navy surface component rusting away and disintegrating in the 1990s, submarine development never stopped in Russia because submarine forces were and are still viewed as one of the major elements of national security. Submarines, apart from strategic missile submarines serving as a crucial pillar of the national nuclear deterrent, are indispensable in the anti-submarine warfare role. They are also a major factor in operations, both as a defender and otherwise on the shipping lanes of communications, which are known as SLOC. This fact is important when considering what is emerging as a flashpoint, one of many between China and the United States in the oceans, the Indian and Pacific Oceans to be precise. There is very little doubt that any American administration, as recently demonstrated by Donald Trump's affection for the most extreme neoconservatives such as John Bolton or Mike Pompeo, will pursue the most aggressive policies both in relation to Russia and China. This is today the nature of the American state, driven by its crusading spirit of exceptionalism and desperate vain desire to not allow the emergence of economic and military peers. China long ago surpassed the US economically. In terms of its naval development, however, some questions still remain as of today. There is little doubt the Chinese naval force plan is capable of supporting the anti-access area denial, which is A2AD measures China must undertake to secure its homeland from attack from the sea. But considering China's immense economic weight and obvious necessity to ship goods, especially using the Indian and Pacific Ocean SLOCs, or shipping lanes of communication, one has to consider a distinct possibility, in case of a serious conflagration between China and the US, of the flow of goods and energy being cut by a belligerent United States, which is already undertaking steps to bypass or overcome China's A2AD zones. Things get even more complicated for China in the Indian Ocean at what is known as Maritime Silk Road. Plan will need to face a powerful world-class US submarine force in case of escalation. Even for all the institutional problems the US Navy experiences today, it still remains a premier global naval force whose real might, however impressive visually, rests not just with its carriers but with its nuclear submarines. Here in the open ocean, the U.S. Navy holds an overwhelming advantage over plan. People Liberation's Army Navy, that's how it's called in China. The advantage is not just in quantity, it is in quality and in vast operational experience. While justifiable discussion on the vulnerability of US carriers, aircraft carriers, to modern anti-shipping missiles continues unabated in the US, there is very little discussion on the need for a potent submarine component. The US Navy today deploys an impressive submarine force which boasts cutting-edge technologies in both quieting and detection on its latest subs. With US regional allies, this capability is even further increased once one considers the submarine forces of Japan and Australia. You can read the whole book, and it's been predicting this. I've been predicting this for many years now, honestly, and what has to be understood, especially with this AUKUS, whatever it's called nowadays, some sort of alliance, it was inevitable. United States losing, it's already lost economic race basically to China, and obviously it's now trying to consolidate whatever is left of the American empire, and it inevitably falls on the Anglo-Saxon world. And in this particular case, the only thing United States can do, especially after obvious military political humiliations in Afghanistan, which is, I don't need to go too much into this, is to provide some kind of response, and if need be, considering China's serious culture of saving the face and knowing that Comrade Xi Jinping, is in the life and death struggle with pro-American, pro-Western forces, primarily from the southern provinces of China, any kind of interruption, be it in the Indian Ocean or in the Pacific Ocean, considering the enormous marine traffic China depends on, it may create the situation when Comrade Xi will have to be, well, if not retired, then overthrown. And to do that, the naval base in Perth and releasing of even initially the aging Los Angeles class submarines to Australia, or whatever the cruise will be, we don't know yet, we will see it, will be for United States, and obviously from the objective point of view is the great choice, because this is the only leverage United States currently has militarily in the world. Whatever we say, it's still the largest, most potent submarine force, despite the fact that obviously it's not of much use, for example, against Russia, but against China and against in the operations, what is called in French guerre de course, or the operations on the shipping lanes of communications and interrupting of the commercial traffic, they are perfect. And giving or leasing out, or whatever the model will be for the United States to get its hands on this very huge chunk of cash, which Australia released basically from the French contract. It could be mixed. It could be mixed cruise, American-Australian or Australian-British cruise on the submarines, but there is definite possibility that the United States will lease out a number of the Los Angeles-class submarines, which are still great subs. They are really great subs, and eventually maybe teach and train Australian crews to use the Virginia class, especially Block 1, which will be coming to its pretty solid age sometime this decade. And in this particular case, this is the way to do it from the objective military point of view. Using this stupid financial language, which I hate, but United States is leveraging what it has, and it has definitely world class, probably the best submarine force in the world. And China here is not even a competitor. Now, for people who think that this might lead to the nuclear war, of course it can, but will it? That's the serious question, and this is not the issue which could be discussed within a single video post. Fact is, even to describe it, I will need probably several hours of lectures just to explain that, well, escalation is a tricky thing. and the United States has a vast escalation dominance here because it simply surpasses China in terms of both its submarine force and obviously American nuclear arsenal, even if it's somewhat exaggerated and some of it is definitely out of order due to aging. It's still overwhelmingly larger than China, which in itself basically a guarantee in a good, old sense that United States can wipe China basically several times over. And which China does not necessarily have means to do same to United States, despite China having obviously its own nuclear deterrent. It certainly can scar United States and even probably destroy it as a state, but China's losses will be simply catastrophic, incalculable, not to mention the fact that in this case Russia will not stand idle, and who knows what's going to happen once the strategic missiles start to fly. So in this case, we have to keep in mind that this AUKUS thing is both about money, about the possibility of the conventional naval ocean-wide conflict on the shipping lanes of communications, where United States can get what it desperately needs right now to consolidate at least something what is left of American economy and American influence in the world, and this is the Anglo-Saxon realm. It can do that objectively. Will it? That's different story. Judging by the reaction of Nikolai Patrushev, the secretary of the Russia's Security Council and immensely important and influential man, personal friend of Vladimir Putin, and judging by what he stated today, which is of course position of Russian government and Russian leadership, is Russia is not going to leave China alone. What can Russia do? We have to remember, this is not the thing which happens, oh yeah, tomorrow it all starts. No, it's been in the works for many years now. And I wrote about it for at least seven officially. So what kind of technology transfers are possible from Russia to China? Certainly some. And as I already stated, Russia leased Project 971 Shuka-B, that's how it's called, which is called in NATO Akula, to India recently. Before that, it was the first chakra was the Project 670 guided missile submarine, also nuclear. So there is nothing really unique about this whole thing. And for people screaming proliferation, well, live with it. It's coming. It's just the way it is. Nothing could be done about it. And yes, the nuclear technologies and nuclear weapons will proliferate. And Australia is a brethren nation to the United States. It's one of the nations of the Anglo-Saxon dome. It's the same language, largely the same culture. And in this particular case, it's really not big of a deal, honestly. As I already stated and wrote many times, I am surprised this hasn't been done before. Now it is being done. And that's the way it is. So will this damage NATO? Possibly. Will this damage European cohesion? Oh, I don't think so. Europe has any cohesion. It's been in the turmoil and decline for the last 15 years at least. So in this particular case, the United States acts as any normal retreating power would do. It tries to salvage what she can. And what she can, and she has an instrument for that, it's obviously the getting Australia into the serious sphere of influence. I mean, in terms of, it's one thing having troops stationed there, totally another allowing the friendly nation to operate your most advanced weapon systems. So in this particular case, we have to wait and see. And I was trying to do some philosophical videos and on gnoseology and military analysis, and suddenly I have to do this, and evidently many people really interested in having different opinions on that, and considering the fact that there are so many fanboys on YouTube posting all those beautiful videos and pictures and whatever, and making those absolutely ridiculous comments. I think my next video, and again, don't forget, I'm still kind of learning and trying to make it work proper. My next video will be about anti-submarine warfare, and especially global anti-submarine warfare. This is serious. And China, I don't think so. China has the modern anti-submarine warfare, which is up to the task if it has to deal with a number of the Anglo-Saxon, let's call it Anglo-Saxon, that's what it is, or AUKUS, whatever you want, nuclear submarines operating in the on the shipping lanes of communications beyond the first island chain, and that is a huge problem. And even the base in Pakistan, which probably gets the boost now and will become full-blown naval and probably air base for China, is not going to solve the problem. China will need both quantity and especially quality. And this is the main problem about which I warned for many years. China's submarines are not that good, simply. And yeah, they got better, but they are nowhere near Russian or American submarines. This is completely different. This is a completely different generation of submarines and naval technologies, including signal processing and quieting and reduction of the physical fields, and of course weapons. So in this case, we'll wait and see. There's no need to panic now. The world is going through horrendous turmoil about which everybody warned, me included, for so many years. We are at this stage, and as I remember Colonel Wilkerson a few years ago speaking about the situation which was developing then, he said, yeah, we have this chess master in Kremlin, let's hope. And he was talking about, at that time, about the possibility of war in Syria. Obviously, as you can see yourself, Syria, for all intents and purposes, is liberated, and eventually the remnants of the American troops and will be removed from there. So, and no war. Military power decides everything. And in this particular case, I don't know. I have to observe and make my own conclusions on this matter. But I think so, the fact that Patrushev de facto supported China, and we knew that Russia and China are in de facto military alliance. Who knows what China will be getting in the nearest years, and there are certainly things Russia can share with China, and with Chinese industrial capacity, and it's an immense industrial capacity. That's why the United States is so hysterical, because China's economy, real economy, dwarfs whatever United States can do today. So we might see some very interesting, hopefully relatively peaceful, not going into the outright hostilities, games between superpowers in Indian and Pacific Ocean. But then again, guess why Russia is building her fleet as if there is no tomorrow. So on that note, I want to finish, and I want to remind you guys to support me on Patreon. And obviously subscribe. And yeah, my plans, yeah, I always plan one thing and then something happens and I have to react to that. But I hope so that my short intro to this whole situation helps. And again, as I believe British, I believe it was Elizabeth who said, you know, keep calm and carry on. We'll see. So all the best for you guys. See you later.